Good day everyone, welcome to a new update on this Saturday, and today we're going to have a total look on the markets or a total overview of the cryptocurrency markets focused mainly on Bitcoin. As what we're currently seeing is that Bitcoin is showing weakness, and then when we get weakness we see that altcoins have even deeper corrections taking place. So we're going to cover that, we're going to look at some on-chain data, and we're going to look at the market caps as well. And about Bitcoin, we're going to dive into the higher time frames and just have a pure conclusion of what's currently happening in the markets. So before we're going to continue, make sure to subscribe beneath, like this YouTube update, and also check out my Twitter and Instagram where you can find daily content on the markets. And tomorrow I'll be doing a Q&A on Instagram as well. So be there, ask your questions, and I'll be answering them through the day. When we're looking at the price action of Bitcoin, we can't deny the fact that we're currently still trending down. We've had a swift correction of more than 50% taking place, and due to that we have seen altcoins correcting even more, as some of them are down 80 to 90%, and most of them have not been making new highs after the high was made in May 2021. So in that case, the markets are shaky, and because of the fact the markets are shaky, you have to look at on-chain data to see what's currently happening in the markets and who's actually buying or selling. Also, what we are currently seeing in the markets is the following. Bitcoin has been showing weakness, and in the first stage of the actual correction we've seen altcoins doing pretty well, as some were still decoupled. However, at the last stage of the correction with Bitcoin right now, we can see that altcoins are correcting even more, which tells us that there is a ton of weakness in the markets. Altcoins are falling through downwards in a sense that Bitcoin is just stabilizing, meaning that people are selling their altcoins towards Bitcoin, and that there is not a sign of strength in the markets. That could be lasting. I mean, if Bitcoin is going to consolidate here or even go down a bit more, it could crush your altcoin positions, as the fear is not going to change quite fast unless Bitcoin is going to break above 40k, and unless the equity markets are going to have a run once again. When we're discussing the actual equity markets, we can conclude that the sentiment is ultra low. It is comparable to the bottom in 2001, and it's even lower than what we've witnessed in 2020 with the March crash of Corona, in which the expectations were that we were going to have a deep crisis. But we all know what happened afterwards. So the sentiment is already deep down in the red, and actually the price action starts to look like it. But it's very understandable that we can actually see the altcoins drop even more, given the fact that people are not feeling comfortable by having crypto exposure, and given the fact that they are looking for more downwards expression or downwards movements on their crypto exposure at this point. When we're diving into the equity markets, we've had a Fed meeting this week as well. We're going to be having hikes during this year, and we also potentially are getting quantitative tightening. Now, what we also know is that Bitcoin is almost directly reacting towards the dollar, and when the dollar is showing strength, which makes sense after the Fed meeting, the Bitcoin is showing weakness. Why is the dollar showing strength? Well, technically speaking, they are tightening their monetary policy, and by tightening your monetary policy, you make the actual currency look stronger, and that's why it's running back upwards. And in that case, a strong dollar isn't really suitable for a strong Bitcoin, and that is what is being reflected in the price action at this point. Now, when we're looking at the dollar at this point, we can also see that the indices are showing weakness, as a lower inflation or an increased interest rate is going to give some serious issues to the underlying debt that the markets are having at this point. Now, finally, if what we have been seeing is that if the yields are doing well, it is a sign of increased uncertainty in the underlying economies. So in the period that the yields have been crawling upwards, Bitcoin has actually been showing strength. And we're going to cover that topic in Monday's update. However, an increased yield or a running up yield, which is something different than the interest rate, is suitable for Bitcoin. However, in the last period, a final breakout has happened on the yields, and that the increase in yield terms has not been suitable for Bitcoin. Why is that? Well, actually at this point the focus is more on the dollar and the Fed. But if the yields are going to crawl up, the uncertainty is going to rise for the markets in itself, and that could be suitable for Bitcoin at some point, unless the indices are showing even heavier weakness, as in that case institutional investors have to de-risk their positions. Lots of stuff, but let's have a look at the on-chain data, which is currently saying where we are standing with the market. Let's head towards a bit of charts. So, on-chain data, I can look this up at Glassnode itself, but we have got William Clemente. He's one of the best on-chain analysts I know, and he's only 19 years old, and he has been showing some important stuff, which you clearly want to see when it comes to price action or when it comes to understanding the moves of the whales. In this case, what does the chart show? It shows the whale balances. So it shows the balances of whale holdings more than 1K filtered for known entities. And that's the green line. The black line is Bitcoin price USD. And whales are usually also long-term holders into the markets. And what have they been doing? Well, we have been actually seeing an increased amount of Bitcoin that has been accumulated in the past period with this crash happening on the Bitcoin markets. We've also seen that happening during the period in the summer where the whale holdings increased. They have been buying and the price started to shoot up. If you want to combine this, you should also be looking at the long-term holder supply. If that one is going to crawl up, it is a sign for you that people are actually, or the big ones are accumulating Bitcoin. And usually when they start to accumulate, you have to show some attention or interest in what they are doing. Also, Gert van Lagen, a Dutch dude, he showed the entity adjusted dormancy flow again. Multiple people have been doing it. I've discussed it on YouTube too. And what we see is the green bandwidth in which the price actually has been moving in every cycle when it comes to a bottoming construction. What we see here is that we've got a bottoming in 2011, 2015, 2019, 2020, 2021, and now we're even as close as the low in 2018 and 2015 and 2011. Which were heavy crashes in the market, and now we've also anticipated a very heavy crash on the market. So based on this chart, the assumption can be made that we're getting close towards that fact. We can still drop to 30k or 28k, as then the dormancy flow indicator will drop a little bit lower, but it's a sign that in this region, based on the previous ROIs, you don't want to look for technical shorts at this point, but you clearly want to look for building your positions for the next run to happen, as when you want to sell, it's actually already close towards the highs of this chart. If you expect the markets to crash heavily from here, technically you are saying that this chart is invalid, and I think that the best bet you can make is actually looking up to this chart and saying, okay, I've got the analysis from historical basis, and that is giving me confidence to actually start building my position rather than looking for sells or looking for shorts, as the underlying sentiment on social media is usually not the best indicator. When we're looking at the total market cap at this point, we are clearly seeing a breakdown. We can clearly see this downtrend too, right? So we have been making this downtrend. We have been making a beautiful rejection taking place here at 2.1 trillion as well. We have been doing it at 2.432, in which the trend is still downwards. This means that we've got a crucial resistance to look at when it comes to the total market cap, and that can be found at the area of 1.9 trillion. Technically speaking, if this one breaks and flips for support, so if we're going to have something like this taking place and we flip, that is going to be the trigger of continuation at this point. Just like we have been doing it previously, in which we flipped the previous high for support and continued to rally. So the 40.7k zone for Bitcoin and the 1.9 trillion zone for the total market cap is crucial for me. I don't expect to see a breakout happening in one go when we get towards that area. So that's why I might be assuming that we get another downwards test before we can actually have the continuation. Why? Well, we have been seeing it previously too. Total market cap has shown a rejection here, tested the low again, and then we shot off. We can also see that in this period, in the last stage where Bitcoin was just consolidating, altcoins were just dying off before before Bitcoin started to make a reversal, and then the altcoins start to shoot off. If you want to see the top altcoins to look at, definitely check out my update tomorrow. When we're looking at the total altcoin market cap, we've lost this entire green zone, so that becomes the resistance at this point, and the same conclusion can be drawn here. If the total altcoin market cap bounces back above 1.2 trillion, that is going to be the trigger that I'd be seeking for potential entries on the markets. But for now, I guess short-term bounce is going to happen, but whether we can have a test of support first before we can have that is still up for debate. But overall, I think you still rather want to look for longs than you want to look for shorts. That is the update for today. Do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram because of the Q&A. And have a wonderful day. I'll see you again soon.